Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Perry Mason. And this is the dark Christopher Nolan era gritty adaptation of an old procedural courtroom drama, because why? And this is from the Downeys. Robert Downey Jr. and his wife produced this film, and this was created by Ron Fitzgerald. And it's about basically the story of how Perry Mason became a lawyer to begin with. Because before that, he was just kind of like an investigator for another lawyer. So Matthew Reeves plays Perry Mason in this, and he is a fantastic actor. The Americans, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. He's a great actor, and he really captures the alcoholism, the depression, just the bad attitude that this Perry Mason has, because he's starting at rock bottom. And he works for John Lithgow's character, who's a cantankerous old lawyer. And they're fun characters in this. And I also really like Juliet Rylance, who works for John Lithgow as well. She has a lot of great personality and energy in this film. Shea Whigham is also another investigator. He's a grizzly older one compared to Perry Mason. But this whole season is about this one case of this woman who supposedly killed her own baby. And fine, they stretch this case out the whole season of 8 episodes. And like Perry Mason used to be like, there's a case each episode and you move on with your life. This felt so stretched out. And yes, there's really strong performance in this, and Stephen Root's the prosecutor, and he's great. He's always great. And there's so many subplots going on in this one case, where it's just like, there's dealing with an African-American cop, who, played by Chris Chalk, who does a really good job, but like, you don't realize how important he is at all to like this main story until like the last couple episodes, and they spend all this side time with him. There's this whole church going on, and like, why do we care about like the woman who's the preacher at this church and her mother? And like, this case is so overly complicated and feels like it's so stretched out that this show didn't fully click with me until like the 5th episode. And it was really when they finally started getting to the courtroom, because there's just so much setup and sputtering wheels. After a while, it's just like, get on with it. And I felt like this show would have benefited more from smaller cases like the original Perry Mason, where you're building up some confidence and going through here, or at least even have other cases they're working on throughout all of this. And this could have been an overarching thing, but they just felt like they stretched this so thin. And definitely everything specifically with Perry Mason going on was most interesting parts. And like the law firm he works for and all those interactions were the best pieces. And I did like the setup. Did think it was very interesting. Like, who thought that like the world needed a new Perry Mason? But you know, the world decides that they need new things all the time, new versions of old things all the time, so why the hell not just make another Perry Mason? But I have to say, now that things are set up, he's a lawyer now, I'm excited to see what they do moving forward. I'm just hoping that they move on from this case and just be done with it, because I'm done with it. So done with it. And I'm hoping that these whole seasons aren't going to be 8 episodes of overstretching one case to the point of like, there's films that deal with one court case. Most films are 2 hours. This is 8 hours of the same case, stretched so thin, and just had so much needless fluff and extra subplots thrown in. But in the end, there's a lot of potential with this, and I enjoyed it. It took a while for me to connect more with it, but in the end, there's a lot of potential here for Perry Mason, and I'm looking forward to the 2nd season on HBO. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.